As of right now, we have absolutely no feedback on any of those policies. So
Okay, then what we're doing isn't working.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll need to talk about that. If you can note that down so that the board can talk about that. Because it's important that parents have the right to chime in.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. No, that's not what I was looking for. Oh, okay, here we are.
Did you want me to go ahead and send those to the board for approval or hold off on them?
Well, I don't know where we're at in this because I know the last board meeting you brought board policies for first read because it was decided that we needed to do that even though the board was doing it differently than policy. So are these coming for a first read? Is that your intention?
Those would be first read, until we can get that policy changed.
Okay.
Which is 1,300. So until they approve the policy change, I guess,
Okay.
I mean, unless we're not gonna follow them or.
Well, let's, I guess, look at that when, was this, oh, did Rusty weigh in on this at all?
Yes, if you go back to the agenda, there is his recommendation.
Okay. It doesn't let you do, okay. Nope. I just want to see what all he's considered revising. Let's go suck. Oh, no, don't want that. Pain. Let's see if that'll work. Why won't it give me a bottom bar?
It might be down too far.
Excuse me.
The whole,
And drag your document back up
Yeah.
slightly. There.
Got it.
There you go.
Okay. Okay, so this is over here. Okay. So the Board of Trustees retains sole authority to adopt, amend, suspend, or rescind district policies. In formulating policy, the board shall establish broad principles that authorize and guide the superintendent and administrative staff to prepare and submit formal administrative recommendations. The implementation of such recommendations to specific programs, personnel, and activities is an administrative responsibility of the superintendent and staff.
Michelle, I don't know how to make it easier for you. I'm sorry. So.
For what?
Oh, just the two. I mean, just marrying them together, put them together. That's all.
No, that's okay. I'm just not being able to see what got changed and what didn't get changed.
Are you sick?
I don't know.
Oh,
It's
you don't
just-
know why?
Just
Okay.
which happens. Thank you, COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see what modifications, because Sierra said this is your recommendation.
Yeah.
So it is in
And
line.
Sarah was great too. She and I kind of worked through it together. So that was awesome. I really appreciate it. Mm.
This, I don't think this is appropriate language. We've never done broad principles. I know there have been protocols, and typically the board directs the superintendent to establish those. So I'm not really sure what we're gaining from that statement.
And I'm okay with it. Just taking it out. If that's what you want to do, I'm fine with that.
General principles,
Yeah, general
which
principles
give
versus.
authority and responsibility.
Yeah, they're very similar. Yeah, yeah, just a second. Yeah, go to the computer. Yeah, I was looking at the email. Yeah.
I guess I'm trying to figure out what we're trying to say here. 'Cause I don't know that word. Because here, this language is specific to policies, and the nature here, it seems like we're going much broader. I'm not really sure why. You want to weigh in, please?
Wild guess, I have no idea. You're wanting me to interpret? I'll make my best guess.
Okay, this is gonna drive me nuts. There we go. Okay. I'm not sure administrative recommendations. I don't understand that.
So I think what he's meaning by the administrative recommendations is like what we have right here now is just the recommendations that he has for the policy.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I like this paragraph much better. Yeah, I just feel like this is becoming extremely broad, and that's not the intention of policy. Yeah, so I'll just.
So if I may, I think the intent of the first paragraph there is to have the board have broad standards so that policy committee and superintendent or administration or whoever is preparing these changes kind of have kind of a guided direction on how the board would like to proceed without
Well,
having the
how do
board
you
have
get a guided
specific.
direction if it's broad?
Well,
Because
that's what I mean.
broad is like all over the place, and everyone can do whatever they want. And it says this paragraph is specifically stating broad principles, where we're adopting general principles, which I'm questioning both of those because typically it's procedures that the board directs the superintendent. I don't know about this.
So I think more like the board says sweatshirts won't be worn on Monday, and then the principal can come in and say sweatshirts and sweaters can't be worn on Monday. But you see what I mean? Like the board saying something general, and then the policy committee and the superintendent can come in and make it more refined.
I have a question for you.
No, because if the policy says one thing,
They want to go on an open trip. FFA was asking.
we can't have each building subjectively interpreting and contradicting each other building.
Oh no, I'm not my building.
because it's
More
it's out of
in
state.
But
regards
that's
to policy
exactly what would
committees.
happen
So
with
I
sweatshirts,
created
like
a
you
form
just
for
Mhm.
Sarah to fill out.
If the policy says no sweatshirts, but then each building decides,
Because there wasn't
yeah,
one.
but we can do this or we can do that.
Also
Even though the
for
policy, because
the-
we have that with the cell phone policy, that says
Mhm.
absolutely no
Because
cell
the
phones.
board-
Yeah.
And there are buildings that
So-
allow their students, as long as they're not out on their phone,
Mhm.
which is in violation of the policy.
So I worked with
Yeah.
Rebecca.
So what I meant by that was the board giving that general idea of this is kind of what we want, this is how we
Yeah.
feel, and then giving policy committee the ability to further refine that and put it into a policy. Do you see what I mean?
What are we discussing?
The first paragraph.
That's what happens now. I mean,
Mhm.
the policies are established.
Mhm.
If there was a new policy that needed to come about, then the board would be the one that would be like overseeing that, making sure that it hit all of these components. So I guess I'm still not.
So it's stating that is what I'm gathering from it. Can you specify more on the
I
first
think
policy?
this is just way too
Policy
open.
meetings.
I much prefer these two.
Okay, say what? Policy reasons shall be the sole responsibility. Okay, that's fine. Those are similar in the first line. Yeah. Policies the board shall adopt general principles which provide authority and responsibilities for the superintendent administration to activities. The application of such policies to be specific situations, personnel, and activities is in administrative detail to be performed by the superintendent and the administrative staff. Okay. I think it's very similar. Board shall establish board principles that authorize the guidance of the assistant and administrative staff to prepare set the formal administrative recommendations. The takes such recommendations to be specific programs, personnel, and activities. So one, we're saying we as an administrative group, and along with the the committee that I kind of set up, we're basically formulating this
Except the committee
policy.
is supposed to come from the board.
The what?
The committee is supposed to come from the board.
Yeah, and I'm okay with
Okay.
that. What we were trying to do is, Sierra and I talked about, is that whenever the policy is recommended for a change or whatever, she sends it to me. So because obviously I'm still learning the laws and everything like that, and then I kind of work it out
And when I say work it out, I wordsmith a little bit and change things if they need to be changed. From there, I submit it off to the admin team, get feedback from them, and then that's where we come up with this the admin recommendation submitted to the policy committee to review. And then from there, you guys can kind of change and do what you want in that regards. And I just need to take another quick look at it, and if it's all good, then we'll move forward with it. But that's how we're trying to scope all this or shape it all.
So what we've been doing isn't working, is that correct?
No, it's not about not working. It's just about it's just another viewpoint, I guess, separately, in the sense of I don't mind. Well, no, I just feel like in this situation, it's specifically to me, Michelle, this is about me. I don't think I'm very useful in policy at all. Why? Because I'm still, like you have pointed out multiple times, I'm still learning. And what's nice about when Sierra sends the policy to me, I can sit there with my computer, look at the Idaho statutes, look at our policy. Comparatively, she usually gives me some ISBA stuff, and then I can look at the two together, and then from there kind of mirror or maintain what we have. From there, I send it out, like I said, to admin just for more feedback. It's just another lens,
Well, I suppose maybe there's been some maybe not, the way the policy committee is run.
Yeah.
Okay. It was quite the tight ship.
Yeah.
And the policies were brought, they were wordsmith, revised, compared, etc.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Then they were sent out to all the administrative staff
Right.
for their review
Right.
on what has occurred.
Right.
And then once everything was done, they were sent out to all the families.
Right.
I did ask Sierra to put it on note for the agenda because this is not acceptable to not have any comments on any of those policies.
Okay.
So what we're doing isn't working, in my opinion, in the sense that parents are familiar with a specific routine.
Okay.
So if we're going, and I think the board needs to weigh in on this,
Okay.
that if we're going to continue on the new method,
Okay.
there needs to be some leading the horses to the new watering trough.
I agree.
By
I agree.
either blasting out a Sky Alert or whatever, directing them to the webpage, because they don't know to go there.
Okay.
And if we're just assuming that they're going to figure it out, which I don't know that that's the approach we've taken.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't have any comments is really concerning to me, because at best, even on the worst days, we get 2 or 3. And so to have no comments tells me we're missing the mark somehow.
Well, and you know this too, because you've done this for quite some time. I mean, there's some like dress code, yeah, you just get a ton of comments on, and there's just some like this where it's more applicable to us and the board, where I can see where they wouldn't be as much feedback on that. So
I'm talking about all of these ones, the fire drills and evacuation plans. I would think parents might have a comment or two. Emergency school closures.
this is a parent that was going to
Okay.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. Hello. Yes, sir. Can I help you? Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so I really like this, more so than this one. It's a lot of words. Adoption and amendment of policies. Alright, oops, proposed new policies and proposed changes in existing policies shall be presented in writing for reading and discussion at a regular school or special board meeting. Such proposals may be referred to the superintendent for detailed study as needed prior to board action on the proposal. The board encourages the superintendent to contact other experts to have potential board policy researched, interested parties, including any board members, citizens, employees of the board, may submit views, present data, or argument orally or in writing in support or in opposition. We're just going to town on that. Alright, proposed policy language based on administrative recommendation shall be presented in writing at a regular reading, discussion, and final vote. The board may refer proposals to the superintendent for further study before taking action. Interested parties, including any board member, citizen, or employee, may present views, data, or arguments orally or in writing prior to the board's vote. Temporary or emergency approval may be granted by majority vote at the meeting in lieu of formal policy to meet urgent conditions or special events. Okay. What I don't like about this is it's solely based on administrative recommendations. I don't think that's appropriate because then there's no purpose of having a committee and we're not getting feedback from parents. But yet we're inviting them to critique, but how are they even gonna know about it? Policy and language, okay. Propose new policies and propose changes in existing policies. Writing. Okay, so let's do. Oops. I do that every time. Oh. There we go. What did you have here? Reading, interview, discussion, comma. No. I hate Google.
I think I've ever heard you say that before.
Just I think at every single meeting.
Sarcasm and facetiousness are never my.
Oh, I love it. Nope. Where's the colors? I hate doing this side by side. Crap. Where am I at? Just go bold. Alright, I don't know that this is necessary language. Because I would think if he's doing a the superintendent's doing a detailed study, I don't know why we would need to encourage him to, I don't know that that's necessary.
One should entail the other.
I would think so. I think that's just wasted space. Interested parties, including board members, citizen, including any board member, citizen, or employee. Or employee of the board. Well, that would only be the superintendent or you. You know what? I think.
Sorry. Actually, it was the superintendent from West Barn. So. anyway, finish what I was trying to tell you. What I'm trying to do is just be more useful when it comes to policy, and I feel like when I sit in front of a computer, as you do right here, I'm working through policy, helping write. It just makes me better at understanding the policy and learning the policy. That's it. I'll be honest with you, and then sharing it out and still validating the policy committee and their recommendations, and that's all it is. Just gives you another piece of work that I feel like I contributed, and hopefully we'll make it better. There you go.
Okay.
Because where I came from, Michelle, this is, and I'm trying to figure out, and I get it. This is a new way to go, and I'm okay with that. In fact, I really appreciate it because, you know, the districts I worked at, it did work through the superintendent, and we didn't have a policy committee. And I can tell you that was not a perfect way to go, because at least we have a vehicle that actually gets to policy. You know, a lot of policies were, as you've mentioned and as I've seen, have not been updated in quite some while. So I appreciate the vehicle, I really do. But now it's just about, with Sarah sending in the policy to me, it sparks me, it gets me getting on it, gets me working through it, and that's just a lot of it. And then the only people I usually generally, for the most part, send inside out on is just Jake, Brooke, Jess, and Kelsey. That's it. So and we just kind of share that information. That's where we come up with the administrative recommendation, and then we send it to policy and let you guys do what you do. So that's it.
But see, to me, stating the administrative staff, that's every building principal, assistant principal.
Yeah, but there's some things that are applicable, like this particular policy, is what I was talking about before. I don't think the building principals really don't have much of a buy-in on that. I sent out we kind of rewrote not rewrote, but basically it says the same thing when it comes to dress code. I changed it just like on this one. I've not changed it, but I came up with an administrative recommendation. I did send that out to principals to get feedback and see just to help us again with the policy, and then and to give it more eyes. And we did have a little bit of feedback. Most of it came from Laura. So I'm like, okay. I haven't really checked it out yet, I'll be honest with you. So, but yeah.
Well, I guess I'm not following what the stumbling blocks are. I think that the benefit of sending it out to all the people,
which I think is fine too. What I'm saying is the step would be here, policy, and then you would send out, right? Is that? I don't understand why that would be an issue.
well, I'm not saying it's an issue. I'm trying to get my point out.
Okay, my apologies then.
Okay. The way it has been previously done is the superintendent made recommendations for the policies. The committee looked through them all, wordsmithed it, whatever we needed to do, and then they were sent out to all the staff and members of the community that the district had emails to get their input. Then it came back to policy committee for final wordsmithing, and then went straight to the board.
I think that sounds reasonable. I don't think we're that different at all. Instead of me sending out, I'll hold and I'll just send you my recommendations and let you send it out. How's that? That fair?
No, because I don't send anything out.
I misunderstood then.
It was the clerk or the assistant superintendent that was sending everything out.
That's fine. I'm sorry. I was saying you. My apologies. Sierra can send it out. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's really no change. All we're doing is, with the exception of, I'll do the administrative recommendation. From there, I won't send out to anybody. I'll share with Sierra, and then from there, she can send that information out per what you just said. Get feedback, or hang on, I'm jumping a step. Let you guys work through it, and then we would send it out. Is that correct?
That's typically what we have done.
Let's do it. That's perfect. I have no problem at all with that. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can chime in a little bit because I've
Please.
seen both sides. I
Yes.
do know on our end administratively, it sometimes feels like or can be whoever the players are in the room drive the policy. Whether it happens
Yep,
to be
that's where I'm
that
concerned.
meeting is almost all administrators, great. Or on the night there have been there for a few
4,000
weeks.
teachers, yes.
Yes, or we're in 5 different directions and we can't be here, but what was on the agenda is pertinent to Lakeland High School, and the perspective that an administrator has and or isn't always presented. And not to say the superintendent doesn't do that, but at the same time, there might be some minutia type details that work its way in there that were like, search and seizure was a prime example, having
Right,
Josh and us
right.
in the room to have that discussion because we're the ones implementing those things and we were able to ask questions.
Absolutely.
Having the right people in the room to have, so then at the same time, some of those drag on for weeks. I think the
Months.
idea behind that is if we could give some of that feedback ahead of time and we can work through that in our evenings, weekends from home and get that feedback to him or to you or whatever it is, could we streamline this process, but
Yep.
also make sure we're getting all the right players
Yep.
a voice.
I hear what you're saying. Let me ask you this, because there were several times that administrative recommendations were brought to the committee because the survey did come out beforehand, and then it came, and then it still wasn't right, but then the policy got approved, and then we had to make more corrections. And so we've played that game before, where we've done the whole, everybody chimes in, and then but then we have to keep bringing the policy back and back and back, because everybody's throwing in their 2 cents worth at different angles, and then we do this, and then they're like, oh, no, that's not what I really meant. They weren't at the table, which is fine, I get it, not everybody wants to be here. I don't wanna be here, but here I
But
sit.
if we can make sure, or
Well,
if
and
it's super relevant, dress code might be one of them.
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
Which I did send out.
And send out,
and
and
I
I can
have
say-
gotten
Well, the
I would
irony
like-
is we had a bunch of input on dress code before we reformatted it. Then we did what everybody asked. We sent it out. Then we had to change it again.
Yeah.
Then we sent it out.
But that's
I mean, it's
well, it's gonna be, that one I can tell you right now.
That's a
is one that
contentious
we're
Always.
getting- You're
Always
never gonna
contentious.
land in a place
No.
where you're not getting feedback and there's
Correct.
no, so that's.
There's no perfect policy.
Policy is the board's and or the building's responsibility to be able to look at something and say, I am comfortable with being able to do this. This is reasonable and within the confines of the law. It's not gonna satisfy everybody, but it is what's best for kids.
well, the reality is policy is the board.
Right, that's what I'm
It's
saying.
not
Absolutely.
the building.
But
it's
if
not the
it's the
superintendent.
policy,
It's
we are
policy.
You still have to
responsible for
implement it,
enforcing.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
have-
I implement it.
Yeah.
I do the procedures in regards
Right,
to how
but
to implement
you
it.
might adopt the policy, but it's still ours
Yeah, we
to
still
put into practice.
Correct.
And so
Very
you know
correct.
that it's feasible. There's some of those pieces that we've seen, those tweaks, then we come back and I'm like, okay, well, this is our recommendation, but this is actually how it, and it was tweaked within the board meeting, even not from feedback from parents. It was a board member says, oh, I don't like this. And they weren't part of that conversation either. So they
Right.
don't know the why behind that not being included or being included.
Right.
And they change it in the board meeting and now our hands are tied to a policy that
Right.
if they had been part of the conversation, they know it's tying our hands.
Right.
And that's, I think, to be able to get all the right voices involved is a big part of that,
And that's
that
what,
struggle. Where, how do we get that the squeaky wheel or the community member who doesn't even have a child in the building
yeah.
is the loudest voice in their room? Is that really gonna direct our policy? Is that the right work to do?
And I was trying to get the meat and potatoes, bring as much as I can to the committee through our admin review, and then hopefully we'd streamline the process. But more importantly, as Jake and I always refer to, you have a good, robust, the meat and potatoes of the policy that we really want to hold to actually preserve. Obviously, the board gets the final decision. I understand that, but I just think it gives us, like Shannon says, it gives us another opportunity to review it, not necessarily in here, and hopefully come up with the best policy to help implement too.
Right.
So I guess I'm trying to understand why we wanting to put procedural processes in the policy.
I don't want to put procedures in the policy. Doesn't, where does it say
Okay.
procedures? I don't see anywhere in there.
Well, the board shall establish broad principles that authorize and guide the superintendent and
Yeah.
administrative staff.
Yep.
No, we don't do that.
Okay.
So,
So you don't want to,
the board shall adopt general principles which provides authority and
I'm okay with you
responsibility
changing
for the
that.
superintendent and
To me,
it's what was in the policy. I'm not
Yeah.
changing anything.
I'm okay with those changes if we made those changes. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, what I'm suggesting is there are no changes because this is the policy right here.
The one on the left.
This one is the policy. This one is the
Right.
policy you guys drafted.
Yeah.
But
But this is a change, correct? That's what I'm referring to, right?
I typed in at the last meeting
Okay.
the administrative staff because it said the superintendent and his staff, and I didn't
Right.
think that was appropriate
Right.
because your staff, I mean, we can mince words about specifically what are we talking about it,
Yes, ma'am.
but the administrative staff is everybody that's, you know, the upper
And
echelon
that's
of
fine. That's what all
the
I meant.
district.
This is, so there is an addition to that, and that's fine. That's all I was referring to, okay?
Okay. Okay, may present. May submit views, present data or argument orally or in writing prior to the board's vote. May submit views, present data or arguments orally or in writing or in opposition of the proposed policy. So any written statement by a person relative to a proposed policy or amendment should be directed to the board clerk prior. Okay, so this is struck. Proposed new policies shall undergo a minimum. Okay. That can be struck. If you have somewhere you have to go, you're free to go. I mean,
Well,
the superintendent usually never sat through these, so that's, I mean, it's up to you.
well, yeah, we'll see what you kick back and we'll go from there. Sounds good.
See, shall become effective upon adoption.
I was just told there were some questions in regard to 1300. I would like you, we did do some work. I mean, we sit down collectively, the four of us, and at least consider the 1300 changes that we made.
That's why I'm doing a side-by-side comparison.
Okay, that's fair. That's
And
fine.
that's why this whole paragraph is basically this paragraph, to some degree. And in all fairness, at the last meeting, what I had done was highlight everything that I felt you needed to weigh in on because you had popped out with that new,
Yep, flow chart.
yeah. So I had suggested that you weigh in on this policy. I didn't direct that a whole new policy be written. So, that's all.
Okay.
All new or amended policies shall become effective upon adoption unless a specific effective date. Yes, that needs to be there. Shall be part of the minutes of the meeting, at which that is correct. That should maintain there. Oh, that was okay. So I know Jake had questions on this one. And I see it was completely removed over here.
It's actually further down, isn't it, Sarah? Policies of the district shall be reviewed by the board. I thought that's up too. There's one part that we moved down. So. Board clerk is in collection with the superintendent shall develop and maintain the current board, current policy manuals. Well, review, okay, it just doesn't have it in there. The manual should be accepted electronically, district-wide, and upon parents make request to the district.
What the point of
Yeah, not quite.
issue was there are annual policies that by law the board
Yeah,
is required
yeah,
to
I know.
review.
Yeah.
Okay. However, However, the code actually states that the board's to review all policies. So there's a little, there's an understanding that realistically all of the policies should be reviewed to some degree annually. The significance is that when there's legislative change is usually when that specific policy should come back for review.
Agreed.
But the reality is there are specific policies by law that are required to be reviewed, so maybe that just needs to be wordsmithed somehow. Okay, so. Which this is accurate. This needs, when anytime there's anything adopted, that needs to remain with the minutes, so we can't take that out.
Policy document minutes shall be a part of the minutes of the meeting, but which action will take was taken and shall be included in the policy manual. Policy. Yeah. I'm not sure I understand. Policy adopted and approved minutes shall be maybe a part of the minutes. She was taken.
Okay, if you take out that adopted or amended policy shall be made a part of the minutes of the meeting at which the action was taken, and shall be included in the district's policy manual. So the minutes need to be attached to, or the policies need to be attached to the minutes that are approved, and then they need to be put in the policy manual.
Not the minutes, but you're saying the minutes too?
No, just the policy.
Right. That's how it's always been, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
For me anyway.
Yeah. Not real sure about that. Alright, administration in the absence of policy. Okay, so when urgent circumstances arise for which no policy or guideline exists, the superintendent is empowered to act to maintain district operations. Superintendent shall inform the board of such actions and the underlying administrative recommendations at the next regular meeting. Any decisions made under this authority shall be subject to board review and formal policy adoption at the subsequent meeting. Where the board has provided no policies or guidelines for administrative actions within policies, and when action must be taken for the effective operation of the district, the superintendent shall have the power to act. It shall be the duty of the superintendent to inform the board of actions taken and the need for policy. Superintendent actions shall be subject to review by the board at its next regular meeting. Okay.
Essentially, it's the same thing.
Yeah, but I like this one better. Primarily because this is saying when there's no policies or guidelines for administrative actions within the policies. So we're bringing it down to there, to specific to the policies. And this is referencing only an urgent circumstance for anything.
pulled it from the ASBA. That particular part.
I don't think that's in the law. The superintendent shall notify the board in writing of the need to suspend a policy and the administrative rationale for doing so.
In Arizona, there's
Suspension
an emergency
will be addressed.
suspension of a, you know, like for having a situation where we have to suspend a policy, so.
I'll look it up real quick.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't like this language because the way it's worded, and maybe it's not the intent, but it says in the absence of a prior notice. So if no trustees get the notice, suspension requires a unanimous consent of all the trustees present. So if only 2 trustees are present, which doesn't even constitute a quorum, it's stating that that would be acceptable. We'd have to have a minimum of 3.
Yep.
So
But you have to provide that all trustees receive written notice.
but it says in the absence of prior notice. That,
To me, it's unanimous.
and it's a unanimous consent of all the trustees present. That's just, no. So,
Well, I'll let you work through it then. Okay.
since you helped craft this, is it the intention with these 2 paragraphs to say that there would be no hard copy policy manual?
No. It
Okay.
says,
Well, no, because it says the manual shall be accessible electronically and in print upon request.
okay. The purpose of that is to say that we have it in print and we have it available electronically. So for anybody who requests it, we have it.
Okay, but the way it's, I mean, you talk about manual, but then you say it'll be electronically and then in print upon request. So that's why I asked the question, because we're required to have hard copies on premise.
But they probably, what
Mhm.
I read that as, like I'd have to ask for that one. I can get to the ones electronically if I go to the website, but if I want, then I have to come in and ask, and I see
Mhm.
the paper. You have to request it, because it's not something we just keep out on a counter for them to access, or in the library, they would have to see the printed
Right,
version
it
by asking
should
for it.
be accessible here in the district
But they'd have
office.
to
It shouldn't
ask
be
for it.
hidden.
Right,
It's
they
not,
just have to
they
ask
just
for
have
it.
to come in and ask.
Okay. But
That's
I
how I
guess
take
maybe
that.
I'm trying to say that people should have to specifically say they need to see the policy book. It should be there, is what I'm trying to say. Because we're not supposed to be hiding the master.
Where, I guess, where would it be?
Should be just right up at the front desk. But I think for ever, I mean, because it wasn't updated very faithfully.
Mhm.
But then it was kept by the clerk in the clerk's office and all that. So I didn't know, because when we were in the era of no paper
Mhm.
is when it went away, but by law we're required to have it.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm just trying to make sure.
Maybe just take that out, because they would have to just ask where it's at. You're not gonna know where to go find it
Mhm.
necessarily, unless we have a library here where they can look at, you know, they'd come to them and say, I'm here
Right.
to review the policy.
Right.
And they could direct them in the right place,
Mhm.
because it could be easily accessible. They just won't know where to access it.
Mhm. Yeah, which I mean, they would come in anyway and be like, hey, where's the policy at? I mean, it wouldn't be automatic nature just to know it's.
Sitting on the shelf over there with the yearbooks, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, what I mean?
That's what we're gonna do. I'll do this.
Have a good evening, everyone. Send me the changes, we'll go from there. Thank you, Michelle, appreciate it.
And I just commented directly on that draft.
Yeah, that was
Did you
good.
see that? And my
I
that
did.
to me makes more sense than.
Yeah,
but-
well, and again, that's why it's just feedback.
Okay.
We'll go from there.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, have a nice evening, everyone. Feel better.
You as well. Maybe that's just what it needs.
I do that and then I'm like, oh man, I gotta reset everything, reformat it.
Alright. So I'm curious why the manual, why we had to add in collaboration with the superintendent. Is there a reason why we had to add that in there?
Just that we're. Anything that I have questions about or anything like that, I guess we would do it together.
Okay. superintendent's plate, that it would seem like a policy manual shouldn't have to be part of his plate.
Mhm.
But if that's what he wants, then we'll leave that there. Okay, so let me. Oops. Because that gives freedom. I don't think there's any other. Oh. Okay. So then I guess send this to Rusty.
Okay.
Is that right? I mean, I'm not sure what all you guys are doing now, so. Okay. So student dresses on here. Okay.
Now, is it possible to have these as kind of a living document that members of policy committee can kind of add to? That way they don't have to be an in-person night meeting.
But you don't know who your members of the policy committee are, because it's just who shows up, right?
Exactly.
And that's been part of that, like, how do we make this accessible
Mm-hmm.
and yet not limiting, but at the same time, like, and I get it, like, it matters, but I know, like, at one point we were in the middle of the day, and then we didn't move until after, like, we were right back at school. And still in the buildings, and so it was, I'm like, well, I'm not gonna make that, cause I got 2 meetings to be at, which is
Right.
reality, and then you've got, you know, little kid football games and parents that can't, you know, so there's no perfect time to have a meeting when everybody can be there. So
Mhm.
finding that
That
avenue that is allowing people to, cause, and you know, you
Oh,
get the
yeah.
right players in the room and they do a lot of the heavy lifting of the writing, and everybody gets to weigh in. But the weigh in on the comment side has less impact sometimes than the people at the table. Cause you're not, you know, it just makes a difference when you're here to elaborate versus
Right.
just comment on it. It has
What
a different-
happens a lot of times though with the comments is that, you know, they're attacking comments,
Mhm.
they're not constructive, let's change this. There are some people that are like, this doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then we go back, reread it, and we're like, oh yeah, I guess it doesn't, and then we re-clarify.
Mhm.
So, but in answer to your question, I think that's a question for the board. For the mere fact that so many of us hate the fact that everything's always changing, and then when you go back to look it up, it's changed. And you're like, it wasn't there before, and so then you have to, I mean, it's just, that's one of the drawbacks of Google for how it's used. But is that your recommendation, that you would like to see that people can just start making comments whenever on the policies, or?
I mean, I think it would be to have our core group of people in policy committee who are responsible for updating the language and going through all of that, having them be able to contribute to it and everything, and I guess eliminate the need for a once a week nightly meeting.
Okay. We've been doing this now for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Is it that it's difficult for you to do these meetings? Okay, were you not told about this when you were interviewed that there
I was told that there would be 2 late nights a month. When I was interviewed, they told me that there would be 2 late nights a month.
Okay. Well, then I suggest you talk to the board, because if it's specific to you,
Mm-hmm.
then I think the board needs to have a conversation about that.
I don't think it's just specific to me though. It's just more other people who have been previously in policy committee who, aren't here and can't make it. Giving them the opportunity to weigh in. So it wouldn't just be specific to me.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious, because I'd just be curious to know if it's a season or if it's specific, because no one's said this unless it was just not brought to the board before. I don't know. It's never been an issue, so then again, if it was never brought to the board, I don't know, because it was never brought up.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly, you don't know what you don't know. There is complications, just like when you went in and just started changing things, and it's not being changed in a way that it's highlighted. If somebody that doesn't know the expectations and starts changing things and then we don't know about it, I mean, those are just some of the
What do you mean?
frustrations and struggles, because I write it in red so that I know, oh, we've changed, because I'm not going to remember if we don't come back the next time. And which is why I suggested to you, because you said, oh no, I changed that, and I said, please just make a new copy so that we can see, we can have the comparisons.
Yeah.
Because when you change a living document and it changes, and then there are a few board members that I know will have heartache over it, because we've had problems in the past where people will go to their grave saying, oh no, I didn't change it, and lo and behold, they did, because they just, and it's not that it can't be changed, it's that if people don't realize what's being changed, and you may not understand the context of why it's one way, and if you change it, it changes the context, etc. And what I'm just saying is that not everybody can have that insight.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you've got people left and right changing things, I just see that as kind of a...
Well, when those policies were brought to the board though, every time it's always had the changes and then a clean copy.
Well, yes, I know that.
Or are you talking
But-
about when I went through and I had the suggestions that I did?
No, I'm talking, there was a while back, I don't remember what policy it was, but I had made, you said, oh no, I went through and I made these suggested changes. They were still in a black font. It looked like it was, and so I suggested at that time, please just go ahead, if you want to make a bunch of changes, go ahead and make a copy of the policy.
Oh, yeah.
And then make the changes so that we don't lose the foundation of what we're actually supposed to be working from. Because that's the policy that's on the website. And if we're not working on that policy, then that just creates its own ugly mess.
Yeah, those were just highlighted and put as suggested. So when you go in and you can suggest changes without editing them, and that's what I had done to kind of help that process. But yeah, backing up out of it wouldn't do any of that.
Okay. But now getting a bunch of hands in there, I don't know if that would be agreeable to the board. I have no idea. But you can make a note and we can ask them about it at the next board meeting.
Okay.
Because it would be their guidance that this one had a lot more meat to it, but I believe it's been okay. We only have 10 minutes. I really don't know that we can get through this because I need to compare them with what we had to what we want to go to see what we're missing. It would be great if, like, I don't care if we want to do a whole new policy and redo it, but just add it to the bottom so that we can at least work off of one document because it's a lot easier. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And then that way we can, I don't know if it'll be easy or not, but my desire would be that it would be. Or
work on
if
2
you're-
screens, wouldn't that be beautiful?
yeah, that would be a nightmare. But or if you're just like making like under the headers, which this one has a lot more headers that isn't on the other one. So just kind of laying it out so that it's similar to be compared. That would be super helpful. But it is 6:51, so I think we should just go ahead and end policy committee, even though we started a little late.
It's a little late and a little early, it's just that kind of day.
Yes, it is. So I'll just have